How's everybody doing? Okay, we're going to do part two of incompatibility of signs dealing with Scorpio and Sagittarius. We left off with part one discussing that it is an elemental square because fire and water don't mix. And I said that it was an elemental square. Actually, it's not. It's more of a semi-square, which is a 45-degree square. Because you have to understand that Sagittarius precedes Scorpio. So they're right next door to each other. They're not 4 signs apart, or 3 signs apart, which connotes a 90-degree square. This is a 45-degree. So we call that a semi-square. A semi-square psychologically and behaviorally is different than a full 90-degree square. A 45-degree semi-square connotes irritation. Irritation. And this irritation will come across in the behavior of the couple. Okay? So understand that both of them can, you have to understand the Sagittarius as a fire sign and is a very stimulating, self-motivating, very innovative sign with his own set of philosophies and laws. But Scorpio also marches to the beat of his own drum and really doesn't care very much for the dictates and pathos of other people or other signs. Remember, this type of apathy begins in Libra and it culminates in Scorpio. Right? So if you, and I know there are many of you that have said that Libras can be very nasty and can be very bad. Well, they certainly can be. Understand that this is the same behavior that Scorpio has, but at a much higher level than with Libra. What begins with Libra culminates in Scorpio. And Scorpio is the sign of great irritability. You know, Scorpios know how to get under your skin and bring out the worst in you. But so can Sagittarius. So them as a couple together truly depends on many other factors that will keep them together too. Right? So one of the things that I wanted to talk about concerning this sign is several quirks and quacks that might need to be discussed in detail. But understand that with the dynamic is pretty much the same if you're dealing with a female who is a Sagittarius and a male Scorpio, or a female Scorpio with a male Sagittarius. The dynamics are kind of the same, only because Scorpio is extremely the same whether it's a man or a woman. You know, it's still gonna function pretty daring, and it's gonna she's not gonna hold any punches, and neither will the Scorpio man. So, you know, the Sag, but the Sag too can also function in the same way and not give a shit and be just as indifferent and just as detached as Scorpio can be. So then you have to ask yourself, who's the boss? Who's the boss? If, you know, in part one, you know, I talked extensively of the Sagittarian woman and the Scorpio man. In a situation like that, I mentioned my sister Sharon, and she's in a similar relationship, you know, but what's happening with her? She, unfortunately, has the Scorpio man is the boss in that relationship. Let me leave it at that. And outside of the reference point of my sister, it will still be Scorpio. Because you see, as indifferent and as detached as Sagittarians can be, the Sagittarian woman, if she falls in love, and she can fall hard, fast, she can be easily bamboozled if she's not careful. You know, the Scorpio man had already set eyes on her. She might have just met him and got wooed by him, thinking that it was a first meeting or a chance meeting. No, bitch. He's been watching you and observing you and studying you and analyzing you for weeks or months before he even approached you. He already knew how to mark the territory. That's how strategic Scorpio can be and is. That form of strategy begins in Libra, the sign of the negotiator. But when it reaches Scorpio, there is no negotiation. It becomes the highest epitome of self-sufficiency, self-preservation, and self-interests. So when a Scorpio man is with a Sagittarian woman, it's most likely that he would have been already charting out that territory, while Mrs. Sag is blissfully unaware. It actually works out that way. It doesn't mean that she won't flip the tables at some point during the course of the relationship. But I see it in that way, that it will be the Scorpio man that will be in control here. If the Sag woman, with her many variety of interests and her mind being pulled in every direction, understand that the opposite polarity of Sagittarius is Gemini. The opposite, so she's going to be like the air, moving all around, all over the place. If she's standing still somewhere, you best assure that her mind is all over the place. While the opposite polarity of Scorpio is Taurus, which is fixed earth. Scorpios like to stay put. It's a fixed sign. And therefore, they'll sit there watching you move all over the place. And you are not paying attention that he's looking at you. And you're all over the place. So now he's figuring you out. And you are not catching that he's figuring you out because you're all over the place. You might be right here with me as a Sag woman or man, but mentally, you're all over the place. The Gemini polarity. And you can catch slights, you can miss red flags. And because the Sag woman, unfortunately, sometimes doesn't really see the person in front of her. She might see what she wants to see about that person, but won't see the total truth of that person. For a person who champions a lot about the truth, she has a problem seeing her own truth. And that can be a problem for Miss Sag. Then that means that Mr. Scorpio will be, it's easy prey for him. Now let's flip it. Let's talk about the Scorpio woman and the Sagittarian man. Who will be the boss in that situation? Who will be the boss? It would be the Scorpio woman. For the same reasons that I'd say about Mrs. Sag. Mr. Sag in this case. Remember, it's a fire sign. And it's a mutable fire sign. And what did I say? The fire signs: Leo, the teenager; Aries, the baby. And then you got Sagittarius, which is on his way to adolescence. These are boys. They're men, but they're still boys. And of course, the Scorpio woman loves a man that is a full-grown man, but can function like a boy in here. Most women do. It's sexy, it's charming, but men like that are easily manipulated. They can be easily manipulated. And the Scorpio woman is the queen of manipulation in this way. She don't got to use her body to be a bait for these men who are usually oversexed and very highly sexed men, which also works in her favor. But, for her, it's more than just sex. Yeah, the Scorpio woman enjoys a good leg. But it's more about sex with her. Where it could be all about sex with Mr. Sag. You see? And Mr. Sag, because he's so honest, and he also can be very gullible, especially if he's younger, if there's a disparity of age, that he can easily be manipulated by this woman. But let's say, keeping it positive, let's say that all is going well. Who do you think, or whom do you think, between the Scorpio woman and the Sag man will break the relationship first? Well, I tell you, if it is a Scorpio woman, when she loves you, you're going to live a chaotic existence. Because this woman will be apt to cause crisis and drama. And she's going to expect you to react to it, Mr. Sag. But the Sag man doesn't like drama. He doesn't like crisis. He doesn't do well with it. He will skip town. Now, in order to get at the heart of a Scorpio woman and have her respect you and have her love you with that same intensity, you're going to have to bear her many scars. Because there's nothing peaceful about this woman. The only time this woman has inner peace is when there's chaos all around her. Because like Mr. Scorpio, they feed off that energy. And what makes someone else very powerful can make another person quite weak. Now that can become a very parasitic relationship. It's also a sadomasochistic relationship dynamic because, she loves her man, but at the same time can mistreat him and abuse him and causing him to lose his peace of mind just because she's bored or because she wants to see how you react or just simply because that is just her nature. Take it or leave it. Will not make the Sag man that much more endearing to the Scorpio woman. Wouldn't you agree? So the Sag man is going to just bounce. He's going to bounce. I really don't think that if it was the Sag woman that she would jump ship that quickly. We could end up right now. That's not how it goes. But the Sag man is a boy. And I gotta be careful here. Understand, listen. I know that the Sag man ain't no boy. Neither is the Aquarius, neither is the Leo man, neither is the Aries man. A baby. We're not talking about their mentalities as men. That's not what this is in reference to. So these men, I hope if you are an Aries or a Leo or a Sag, do not become offended by what I'm telling you. No, you are great and intelligent men. This is not what's being brought to question. What's being brought to question is the emotional state, which by no fault of anyone, because all of us are born with certain emotional states and certain emotional indexes, as well as certain intellectual states and intellectual indexes and faculties of intuition and perception, right? But the emotional faculties, when it comes to the fire signs, particularly the men, does connote something of a youthfulness and a childlike naivete and innocence and even youthful essence of being. While many church leaders call the divine child of Christ, the held by the great Madonna, that's not just about a woman holding a child. The symbols behind that are far greater than just a woman holding a child. And this is the essence of the fire signs, is that childlike energy, that youth-like energy. And that can kind of give the wrong message from the outside looking in. Oh, these men are immature, these men are irresponsible, these men are like babies, they don't grow up. That might be the essence of their soul. Remember, fire signs reflect the fire of the soul. And the soul ain't no old biddy. The soul is youth, is the divine spark of God, which is youthful. It says in the Bible, when the Son of Man cometh, when Jesus comes, you shall be as children, and you shall run to him as children. We become children because that's the divine purity of the soul. When you're children, you know no evil. There's pure essence. Understand that the fire signs symbolize and represent that essence. So whenever you look at an Aries man or a Leo man or a Sagittarian man, and they give you that fiery warmth of a youthful kid, even though they're grown-ass men, understand that you are witnessing an aspect of their soul. So you women have to understand what kind of men are in front of you. And this is why it's important to do this compatibility and incompatibility of signs. Now, going into a little, we're going to jump right in. I know I just started, you know, I started 10 minutes in, but you know, there's always, so I got to reach out and help, you know, and get things done. I have a guest here with me, you know. I don't know if she wants to say hello again, you know. I'm switching it right here.
Hello.
Right. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm going too late.
Right? Oh no, loves and kisses.
Represent yourself.
My name is Angie, and I'm one of his #1 fans.
Yeah, and she's a Libra.
And proof.
Okay. So we are going to go into specifics concerning the dynamics of a female Scorpio with a male Sagittarius. Okay. All righty. Thank you. Yeah. All righty. So let's you know, there's certain things that we have to speak more specifically about when it comes to this combination. Okay. For example, you have to understand that we can talk about clicks and clashes. Okay. First of all, where you click or where you are most compatible is the fact that the affair will be a love and hate relationship, a love and hate situation. Okay. And both of you will never be short of being just completely hot and over heels over each other. Okay. You do enjoy the pleasures of the flesh. The Sag and the Scorpion of both sexes of the signs enjoy just getting into bed and dipping and doing it. Like Wendy Williams says, right? You know that they enjoy the in addition to the pleasures of the bedroom, they enjoy a passion for obtaining the finer things in life. Both of them have a taste for the good life, and both usually find it easy to acquire whatever they want. You know, it's to see if there is real love between these two people beyond the physical chemistry. But see, that's where the problem lies. See, outside the bedroom, does that same passion exist with this combination when they're outside the bedroom? Common ground with these two is limited. And what it is limited because they both have such varieties of interests. And even if, let's say, the Scorpion, who whether man or woman, stays fixed, you know, that doesn't mean that over time you can be. Look, I've been with my Scorpion for 10 years. I don't know him any more than I did when I first met him. Can you handle that for 10 years? If you can, then great. But if you can't, it will drive you crazy. You might put a button in your head because most people want communication with their partners. and they want their partners to let them in emotionally and psychologically. You think that's gonna happen with the Scorpio? It may happen to a certain degree with the Scorpio woman, and even then you gotta be careful because she's up to something. Not all Scorpio women are evil or bad, and just the fact that they do this doesn't make them evil. It just makes them very cautious. The one that's apt to be a little bit more cruel will be the Scorpio man. Again, not because he's out to hurt you. It's a waste of time to hurt you. For him to hurt you, then you must mean something to him. You have to understand. With Scorpio, you have to think the opposite. If the Scorpio man leaves you alone, if you challenge a Scorpio, let's say in the play yard, schoolyard, for a fight, you think he's gonna show up and fight you in front of everybody, even if he was gonna win? No. He'll catch you when you're alone and when no one's looking, and you will never see it coming, and then bam! I don't even want to finish the sentence of what could happen. Scorpio is, you really have to take a crash course in psychology to understand these people.